those here because they contributed, but
Right.
what do you think of those guys does well and what they can add to the team this year?
Yeah, so the three that are with us today, I'll start with Fayon Hicks, and I've loved seeing Fayon's kind of progression and growth, and when you say that, it's his growth as a player, but also just kind of in all, right? They come in, they're young, and where he's at today, and yet I think a guy that's he's here because I think he's one of our real leaders, and I'm pumped that he is one of those. And early, not always going to say a lot, but when he did, it resonated, and it was. We were coming down here, I was just seeing if JT was going to be in town. So who are you coming down with? And told him about Fayon, and he's like, man, I love Fayon, and when he would speak, it had everyone's attention. So that's younger Fayon, right? And obviously I think that I'm excited for him for this year and kind of where he's at and what he's done to prepare himself for it. And as you know, if we're going to be a good secondary, having good play, we got some guys that have played, have some experience. Fayon and Caesar and Scott and Colin, we've still got other guys I think contribute, but those four, they've been around, and if we're going to be a good secondary, I think it's got to come from them, and I'm excited and appreciate that. Jack Sanborn, I think you're looking at one of our, if you're just going to say who's one of your better players on this team, you'd be picking him early in that draft, and I think if you talk about a guy that
it's gonna be awesome.
From the first day he came in, was very purposeful, and I said this early about it, and I believe this, that if you're a coach, Jack does everything you'd want to see, and he does everything you'd want a player to do. If you're a teammate, he does everything you'd want a good teammate to do. If you're his friend or roommate, he's exactly what you'd want to be. And even if you're not his roommate or maybe not his friend, he's gonna be approachable. He's gonna, so you talk about just a complete package of everything you'd really want your guys to be. You'd want your son to be. You want to be. I thought a great reflection of what you'd want to. I want people to know more about him, and then had a chance, with Ferg to come down, and I've loved seeing kind of Jake's progression and maturity, and certainly means a lot to us as a player. And you guys have seen him and been around. You need him to have his best season for us if we want to be any good offensively. But I've really been impressed and kind of I've liked his purposefulness of kind of all the things that aren't dealing with himself and him playing and kind of focusing around it. And obviously there's a number of other guys that would have liked to have brought, but I think those are three really good, different but good representatives of our program.
So I'm guessing you really enjoyed going out to dinner with those guys last night?
How'd you know, Jim? I did, and you think about it as a chance to sit down and just kind of visit and have fun with them, and I'm always grateful for the time you get with them. But so many, it's in between something. Or, hey, pop up in the office, but you don't want to hold them hostage either. So I really, as much fun as today has been, which is this is as good as it gets. But it was that was the highlight for me, and probably will continue to be the highlight.
Talk to the sauce.
hot as heck. Should have gone on the side, but we all kind of went all in on it. So.
Yeah, I had me some at Heritage last night. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it gets to you, brother.
Vam was the first one, and I think he must have inhaled while going in, and it set the tone.
You probably been answered this before. I covered Penn State for most of that. What does it mean for you guys open up with Penn State? Obviously, two tough opponents in your stadium out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I don't know if this is right, but in trying to answer what it means, there's kind of a compounding effect to it, right? You're always excited for the first game, and then anytime you're opening up in conference, that's a big deal. Adds a little bit more. And then when you're going up against a really good football team, that elevates it another step. And so it's goes without saying it's a challenging opener, right? I mean, you gotta. I think because of that, and we all know that, you've got to have a. You'd like to say every camp, there's a sense of purpose. Every off season, there's that. But there is no easing into anything. And like I say, you'd like to say, well, we always approach it that way. But I think there's some parts of human nature that, and I think we got some kids that are going to approach it the same way all the time in the right way, and there's others that's grabbing their attention.
How do you balance making sure you're at your best, but also knowing what those guys do? How do you, when you start watching film on those guys?
Right.
Also
I think that there's always, early in the season, I think there's always a balance. You're going to spend all the time and prepare for what a team has done, and they're doing the same on us. And yet, that you're going to be a different team, whether it's because of players that have left or players that you've added. So I think you'd be making a mistake if you geared everything towards, hey, this is who we're seeing. This is the foundational pieces. You can anticipate it, but that's kind of the challenge. And in some ways, it's kind of the fun part about early games is that you don't really know.
Paul Saeed is at Michigan State now. You did a lot for your recruiting. How significant was that loss? Where do you go from here in terms of who's in charge or what the approach is with recruiting?
Yeah, still kind of, got through, and June was a good June for us. And nowadays you're still always trying to manage a couple classes. And, certainly had a positive impact on us, and yet I'm also very confident. And I think one of the things that we do well is it takes everyone to do a good job in recruiting, and we've got to make some. You're going to make some additions, right? I mean, people leave, it opens up. You got to add the right people. We've done a little bit of that, not complete yet, and then you just got to make sure that you're doing everything the right way as far as the end result is. Are you on the right people, and are you doing all you can for them to get to know who and what Wisconsin is?
Coach, at the end of last year, it looked like Booker was going to be the starting running back with ease, coming into the season. And then obviously Mellusi transferred in, and Allen decided he was going to play running back, and he was traded to Carolina. What's the game plan in terms of the backfield this year?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of camp. Is how will that shape out? And we're excited about Chez joining us, and felt that if it was the right person, we thought we could benefit from adding a guy if he had some experience, and we think we found that with Chez. We've got some guys that have, Jalen played 4 games last year. Isaac Garendo, was hurt for so much of last year. There's a guy that we think, has the ability to be a really good back. You've got Braylon you talked about, and you've got other freshmen, you've got Julius Davis. There's a lot of guys, and that's the hard part about it, is I don't know if you have enough reps for all of them. And so, that's something that we've been spending a lot of time talking about as a staff, and and how do you manage that group? You know, have a lot of, you know, it's early, but I feel really fortunate with Gary Brown joining our staff, and I have a lot of confidence in him, and certainly, you know, Rudy, you know, spent a lot of time with the backs, myself, you know, I'm confident that we'll get there, but today I couldn't sit there and tell you, you know, this is where it's at, and he was going, because if you try to get everyone all the reps, you just don't have enough time for it. And so we got to do a good job early of assessing kind of where everyone's at and really who earns those reps.
Coach, being a Wisconsin guy, getting fans back in the stands, and obviously growing up in Wisconsin, how special is that for you to actually have fans doing this stuff all over again besides Zoom?
Yeah, I think every one of us is excited, right? Everyone, not just myself or our program or our state, right? Everyone's gone through a lot, and we're still working through it. But to you know, when you get to that where you can play a game and there are fans in the stands, especially for us at Camp Randall, and you know, the one thing, and just in talking to people, you realize that it's. And it was actually, I liked hearing this. It's more than just the game, right? It goes a lot deeper, and so I think, let's face it, we're all excited to get back to, you know, I bet you every one of us here saw someone this summer that we hadn't seen for 18 months, or we got a chance to go to a barbecue and actually hang out with people we hadn't really connected with. And one thing that's pretty cool about college football, and certainly I think we get spoiled, maybe we live it in a great way at Wisconsin, is, you know, college game day is an event. And you know, there's a part of you as a football coach that you're excited for your players, but I think the more you kind of pay attention and listen, I think for me it's gone from more just excited for our players, and think, you know, even though I don't know their names necessarily or the faces or what exactly is their tie, I'm excited for everyone to get those, you know, to have a day like that again. Thank you.
Last year, I know being a college football coach is complicated and challenging in itself. I think last year had to be so much more challenging because of everything you had to go through. How do you think you handled it? Did you think you learned something about yourself last year?
Yeah, you know, how did last year, and you know, the challenges of it, what did I learn from it? Is that I think you better learn something from it. And you know, I feel good about my intentions. You know, would you do everything the same? I think you'd be pretty arrogant if you say, yeah, I nailed every one of them the right way. So I don't think that. I think that, you know, we were asked about it earlier. Hope it wasn't with you guys so that I'm not repeating myself, but, you know, there was a chance for us all to learn something, and we better not forget what we learned, you know, and you better take it forward with you. But I think there's, you know, I was grateful for a lot of the things that happened last year. Not that I would ever want to repeat it, but there's a lot of people that did a lot of things to allow us to play, and that's a gift, right?
Not really. I mean, I think a lot of guys,
you know, as much as I enjoyed the opportunity when we got a chance to play, you know, you miss it. So I think probably more appreciative and grateful when we do have the fans in the stands. Right, I think you take so many parts of it, and even just as a team, you know, how we handled it and what we did, and you know, I think we all as a team were, you know, I think I was telling you guys about like the first team workout it was fun to get together. So I think that was good. But I think in reflecting back on last year, we were no different. In many ways, we were probably a lot better shape than everyone else, or not everyone else, but it's so many people that had to deal with things that were a lot more significant. And yet, you know, don't want to repeat it, but we better learn from it and carry those forward whenever. I bet there's some that will apply this year, and there's probably some that will apply down the road.
Well, we saw a lot of competition on the offensive line throughout spring practices this year. Is it fun or more exciting for you guys as coaching staff when you're coming into a fall camp where really important position groups got 10, 12 guys that could all feasibly play?
Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be interesting to me. Like really, spring ball I love spring ball, and it's a great time to get a lot of work and to focus on, kind of just yourself and really just the development of players. I think the difference in fall camp is you're now getting ready to be the best team you can be, and so you're trying to create some of the chemistry that you need. There's value to working together, particularly in the offensive line. I think we do have a number of guys. I'm not anxious because I don't think that's right, but I'm curious, or I'm looking forward to seeing who kind of emerges and how does that group continue to grow and develop.
Speaking on a player from another school, Iowa running back Tyler Goodson, what is your assessment of him as a player and what makes it difficult to game plan?
Obviously, in my opinion, a very talented, really good player, right? And I think what also makes him effective is, I think, I've always had a lot of respect for what they're doing offensively, and I thought the quarterback played well, which helps back. I think he's obviously really talented and a heck of a football player.
I know he coached defensive
Oh,
back.
lots been
I'm not sure how well you know Dabo from the days in the ACC, but in a situation like this, did you talk to Dabo or find out about him, do some homework there?
I didn't specifically talk to Dabo. We talked to guys on their staff, and really did try to do as much research as you could, because I thought it was really important what we were looking for. We needed to get a good sense of who we were bringing in, and that was what made it, each conversation, whether I had it or Rudy had it with them, Gary had it, it was kind of fun to share back with each other and find yourself more energized by it. And then we took longer than a lot of other schools were, and at first I think it was frustrating for him, but we wanted to make sure he got up and visited and was around our guys. And it's a two-way street. Like, it's just not what we think about him, it's what he thinks about us, and does he feel comfortable. But I'm really glad that we've got him, and I think he's done a good job and put effort into kind of diving into and getting to know his teammates, and because that's always a little tricky, especially for a guy that that you want him to contribute sooner than later, right? A lot of freshmen come in and you don't quite know, and they ease their way in. And so Isaac Towns is another transfer that came, and they've done a great job. Kind of put himself out there, and so guys get a chance to get to know him, and you appreciate that from him. But yeah, we're excited that Chez is here.
Well, has
consistently utilized fullbacks, and I was able to catch up with Mason talking through his process in the NFL. Can you talk a little bit about why that position is important to you guys and why you utilize it?
Yeah, it's I'm hesitating because we've been fortunate. Before Mason it was Alec Ingold, and before Alec it was Derek Watt. And when I was here before, all the guys have gone on and played in the NFL. So it'd be pretty stupid of us not to use a fullback if we got guys that are good enough to play in the NFL, right? And yet I think that certainly do believe, I think any offense, defense, especially, you better play to the your scheme better be broad enough to be able to complement and use the players that you have, use them to the best ability. I'm excited about John Chanel. We got one, that's played a lot and played behind Mason, and so, I think that's as much of the reason why we've used the fullback is we've been lucky to have guys that you want to get on the field, and fullback is their best position.
You talked about it being a little bit like a fraternity, learning from Alec, Mason, and then teaching, paying that forward. But they don't have their own position coach, and they don't have their own environment, yet they've cultivated that kind of atmosphere in your program. How do you think you would foster that?
See, they're spoiled because they got everyone coaches them, so they're trying to make a little. Fullbacks don't need attention. They're trying to create a little bit, but they do a great job together, and I think that's what's special about